Today's tutorial is drawing a hyper-realistic mouth in ohuhu markers and colored pencil. For those of you who are new here, my name is Michelle Moreus, and I create art tutorials that are fun, easy, and accessible for everyone. And if you're returning, then welcome back. So we're going to start off with going in and just mapping in our colors with the ohuhu markers. With alcohol markers, you always want to start with your lightest values. And the reason for this is you won't be able to lighten up the marker even if you put white color pencil over it. You can lighten a small amount, but you won't be able to lighten it as much as you might want to. So always start lighter and then build up gradually. So I'm going in with my colored pencil and I'm just going to map in where those lip creases are and give myself a little definition so I don't get lost as I'm going along. I don't want to lose my complete sketch by going over with all the alcohol markers. So I'm marking in where all those creases are in the lips and where my shadows are going to be and where my deep creases are going to be. And this way when I go over with the alcohol marker, I'll still be able to see that little bit of line through there as we deepen that up. I'm working really lightly with the colored pencils. I have very sharp colored pencils and I'm working very lightly, putting a light coat down. It's always easier to blend things when you have a nice light coat on the paper already. So we're just going in and we're just kind of defining little areas here and there, but still going in very lightly with that colored pencil. And then we're going to go in with our markers again and add most of that lip color. These are going to be very juicy red lips when we're done, so I'm not really worried about putting too much colored pencil down. I'm just really trying to define all of my areas and just try to build all that up and build on my values, so it gives me a nice roadmap of where we're going in the piece. I'm using the Caran d'Ache Luminance colored pencils today on a Strathmore 400 Bristol smooth paper. I really like this paper because it can handle a lot of colored pencil and it can handle the alcohol marker. You want to be careful that you use a thick enough paper when you're using alcohol markers because they do tend to bleed through the paper. And if you're using too thin of a paper, you'll really have a hard time blending when you add all that marker in on top of that colored pencil. I'm putting a light glaze of this light purple color on the tongue part. We are going to blend a lot of colors in with that, but there is a little bit of purple in the underneath of the tongue, so I'm putting that in. And now I'm just covering my white areas or my highlighted areas with some white colored pencil, and this will help me not kind of overwork that area and keep my highlights a little bit more pure from the beginning. You'll see with these ohuhu markers, you really can fill up an area really quickly. So I'm going to start going in a second in the lips with some red ohuhu marker. And again, I'm using a color that's a little bit lighter than my finished area is going to be. So I'm going to go in and I'm going to just fill in those areas, and we're going to just cover the whole entire lip area, and you can still see through it enough of the colored pencil to be able to see your lines of where we're going to accentuate those creases. And then we're going to pop some highlights with a Jelly Roll pen in the end. So as you can see, you can still see the colored pencil through the marker, and we will deepen that up as we go along. So we're just really building up slowly and gradually, and you'll see that we'll start to get more form. And a big trick for alcohol markers, if you let the alcohol do the blending for you. So you start with your basic colors and then you go in with your deeper tones and then go back to your lighter tone and go over it. And I'll reference in a card above the beginning blending of alcohol markers for you to refer back to for my beginners. Now with teeth, people have a tendency to leave the teeth really pure white, and they're really not pure white. You're going to have a little bit of a shadow where the lip comes over the tooth at the top of the tooth area. And so I went in with some white color pencil and some gray color. And this is going to give us a nice, bright, shiny highlight on the teeth without them being pure white. So after I've gone in with my little bit of a cool gray color, then I'm going to go back in with my white color pencil, and I'm going to burnish that together so that it gives us a nice smooth look, and it's not going to be sketchy looking. It'll all be blended in perfectly. Now we're going to go back into the tongue, and we're going to add all of our details in, and we're going to just deepen this up slowly and gradually like usual, and until we get enough of a dramatic effect to look like the shadow under the tongue. So we still have a ways to go here with building up our values. You want to refer back to your reference image as you go along to make sure that you're putting your dark shadows in where they need to be and making them as dark as they need to be. I'm a big fan of really pushing your values, making sure that all of those areas are dark enough. And you don't want to quit too soon. You want to keep going and push those values as far as you can. Now you want to pay attention to the patterns that the cracks in the lips make with that lipstick on there. It definitely has a pattern. You don't have to do it exactly the way the reference image is. You just want to take a look at those patterns that it makes and kind of replicate all of those little cracks and lines and things and where the highlight is going to shine. So you want to just kind of pay attention to that and then just keep repeating it, and it will look realistic. The bottom lip goes over the chin a little bit, so you want to make sure that you put in just a little bit of a skin shadow underneath that bottom lip, so that's a little bit darker than the rest of the face that's showing. Now keep going in and deepening up that tongue part and just making sure that I'm blending everything out as I go. We have a nice coat of colored pencil on the paper now, so anything that we put over top of it is going to really smush all the underneath layers together and blend everything together beautifully. So I'm going in kind of heavy with the Jelly Roll pen now, and as I was talking about the patterns that the lips make, I'm doing that with that Jelly Roll pen, and then I'm glazing over it with a little bit of marker and a little bit of colored pencil to just soften it up a little bit. So I've looked at those patterns that it's making, and I'm following along the cracks of the lips and giving it a nice shine just to add to the realism of this piece. So just look closely at those patterns and just keep going with it. This part is a little bit tedious. It takes a long time to put in all those little dots and those little lines. They're almost like little L's and upside down L's, and they're going in a row. So it just takes a little bit of time, and just take your time to put it in, and then you can judge where it needs to get softened up a little bit, where it needs to be bright white highlight, and where you need to kind of glaze over it with some more color. So I'm going over some of those highlights with the light pink Ohuhu marker, and this is just going to push them back a little bit and make them not so glaring white. And you want to keep some of them obviously bright, but you're just going to kind of blend them in a little bit with that pink Ohuhu marker. I would really love it if you guys would consider subscribing to my channel. It really helps me out as a creator. And leave me a comment below in the comment box. I really love hearing from you guys, and I do get back to each and every one of you. And if you want to see this tutorial and a whole lot more in full length, you can go over and check my Patreon channel out. I'll have a link in the description box below. There I give you the whole drawing. If it takes me 3 hours, it's the whole 3 hours. I give you the sketch outline, the materials list, and the reference photos in a clear voiceover by me. So check that out. That's Patreon, and the link is below in the description. I want to thank you guys so much for joining me today. I'm enjoying myself immensely, and I love putting these tutorials out for you. So don't forget to leave me a comment, and happy art.